I love the word tourist. You know why I love it the most? It's because the people I used it against want me to use something else. They're like, but it doesn't fit. I don't understand. Oh, I think you do. I think you do. Tourist is the perfect word to be used on a person that happens to be an activist and just tries to infiltrate a hobby to subvert it and to change it in order to fit his agenda, regardless of how many fans of that initial hobby would be affected by the change. So the more I am told that tourist isn't a good word, the more likely I am to use it because, again, the people who do not like the word tourist are the tourists themselves, like 90% of the time. And what's interesting is that some people have noticed that many tourists are on ban evasion accounts. Very fascinating, isn't it? And as Thor Odinson points out, the reason they are on a ban evasion account isn't because like they're just trying to have fun and share their models with other people. No, the reason that they're on ban evasion accounts is because they actually want other people who disagree with them to die. Like, they're very aggressive, very outspoken. We used to call them keyboard warriors when I grew up. These were individuals that were blocked and muted by the overwhelming community because we didn't have a trust and safety council back then. There was no plump HR lady that got to decide how people speak on the internet. Instead, what we used to have was grassroots punishment. And grassroots punishment was that if you act like a twat, two things could happen. Like, number one, people would mock and ridicule you because you're spurging out at a keyboard and they would call you a keyboard warrior. Like, what you gonna do? Oh, when I come up, I'm going to beat you. Oh, really? Really? Oh, all right. And what else? And they would, like, write essays on the keyboard. It was funny, like seeing how a person wastes their energy. Now that is considered to be borderline terrorist activity if you were to say the things that people would say on the internet back in the 90s. But like that was one way to punish the tourist. It was to make fun of him. The other way was to block and mute him. And once the tourist was blocked and muted by almost everybody, then they would have to change. Because they would realize, but I still like the internet. I still want to use it. So maybe the thing that I'm doing, which is getting me banned from everywhere, is something that I would need to stop doing it and start behaving a little bit more civilized. So that was how things were then. Now, unfortunately, not so much. Still, you do get banned by the plump HR lady, so then they have to make burner accounts. And this is what Thor Odinson is pointing out. It's like, all of these evil, toxic fans, they have actual accounts. Like in the case of Thor Odinson, accounts with 3,000 followers, they don't get banned. Meanwhile, is the people that want you to be a more decent human being that is on his 7th burner account because he can't stop violating Twitter TOS. So, what's also interesting is that these individuals that want to change Warhammer 40k because it's problematic. Like, my question is, like, why can't we have problematic fiction anymore? Because they never articulate this, right? Like, they have taken the religious belief that if you see violence in video games, you have violence in real life. They have taken it to such extreme levels that they believe that if you even have like a racist joke in media, in fiction, then it influences reality. Like, unironically, think about the Baby It's Cold Outside song. Like, they're freaking out about it because its lyrics are kind of rapey according to them. Meanwhile, the song Wet Ass Pussy, which happened to appear around the same time that Baby It's Cold Outside was playing on the radio. I think it was like around Christmas. That one is fine. That one is very progressive and enlightening. Not sexist whatsoever. Bring a bucket and a mop because this... But other examples, Ace Ventura, right? Like the ending. Makes fun of a woman that has a penis. That's not allowed. That's harmful. So basically, you're not allowed to have harm in media, but they do not have like their principles all the way. Like for instance, if you have gratuitous violence, like you have in The Walking Dead, that's fine. Children getting shot, Walking Dead, perfect. No problem. They don't have any issue with that. But if you have an edgy joke, South Park, that is the destruction of Western civilization, according to these individuals, and they need 17 burner accounts in order to lecture you on why that is a problem. And the interesting thing, right? Warhammer 40k, like the reason that it is popular is because it's problematic. Because if Warhammer 40k wasn't problematic, then it would be like almost any other fantasy setting out there. The whole reason that Warhammer is so amazing is because it's grim and dark. Like, literally, no one wants to live in the Warhammer universe. From what I noticed, people who like Star Trek would love to live in the Star Trek universe. People who like Star Wars would enjoy living in the Star Wars universe. I don't think there is a single person that wants to live in the Warhammer universe. Like, correct me if I'm wrong. And all of these individuals, these chuckleheads that are going and they're like, oh, well, why can't we have female Space Marine? Notice how they're not asking, why can't we have female orcs? I mean, the orcs are an entirely male race, right? So if you're for gender, because they don't give a shit. Like, that's not the reason why they care. And even if you were to say, like, why do you want more female Space Marines? Well, I would probably say it's like, okay, well, we want more representation, so more women can enjoy the game. Imagine, you know, I wish I could do this. Unironically, like, I wish I would have the power to do this. We will make this change. Like, we will have female Space Marines. But if the number of female players doesn't raise by 30% within 3 years, you need to pay us $3 million in damages. That you did to our brand, that you did to our story. I want, right? Because, like, when you attach responsibility to actual power, all of a sudden people are a little more or less likely to use that power. All of a sudden people are less likely to do abuse of power. The only reason that the activists get to ask for things is because, like, if the things they ask for end up being horrible, there's no consequence for them. None whatsoever, right? So, like, they're asking for entire IPs to change. And by doing this, people can end up being unemployed because the IP doesn't sell as well, because it loses fans. And all of that is none of their concerns anymore. Like, they did the damage and they go away, which is why they're called tourists. Imagine, you know, like, tourists going to a rock concert, and they're going there and they're dropping their filth, and they do not put their residue in a waste basket. So they're making a mess. And afterwards, they go home. And once they go home, the mess remains. The garbage that they left, all of that. This is literally what they are doing with various IPs. And it's why Western entertainment now is getting dominated by Korea, by Japan, and by other countries that do not have these students. They do not benefit from them. And this is why these students are probably so angry. It's because people like myself and many others are catching on to them. We're calling them out. And we're gatekeeping. And this is why they have like 25 burner accounts, because the tactics that they used in 2016 aren't as effective today. Let me know what you guys think, and as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.